Etepu, namaste. This is Kasank Ma Keperu with another broadcast for you. And today, I want to talk about how to be like Ma'at, because that's my favorite deity, Ma'at. And then I think I like Haru and then Tahuti. There's so many good deities out there. There are a lot. The ancient Kemetic people, the Egyptians, went crazy with that. They just created hundreds of deities. But anyway, I got to eat some of these grapes, these green grapes, and my father loved green grapes too. So, and I love them. I don't know, I must have got it from him. But when I got home, I took a bunch of vitamins. And if you know anything, don't take a bunch of vitamins on an empty stomach. You're going to get sick. You're going to get nauseous. And I like to take them with water on the empty stomach because it goes right into your system. But you can't take too many or you'll start to throw up. It's just not good. So I gotta put something in my stomach. But I don't want to put too much because I want the vitamins to go into my bloodstream real quick. So excuse me while I take this grape. And wow, that's really sweet. And I don't like sweet food. I just can't stand anything sweet for some reason. And I don't want to eat anything with GMO. So I don't want to, like, today I'm fat. I'm going to fast today. I'm not going to eat dinner today, which I do. I try to, I alternate weeks. So I'll eat dinner one week, and the next week I won't eat dinner, but I'll eat breakfast and lunch. And it cleans your system out, and it's very good to do something like that. And drink a lot of water, of course, because the water will flush everything out. But anyways, let's talk about Ma'at. Funny thing, that sounds like the startup of a joke, right? It's interesting when I'm on the forums and I'm communicating back and forth with certain individuals who are not legitimate priests, who have adapted the culture and think they know about Kemetic science, or think they know African culture, or think they know ancient Greek history. And it's hilarious, because what they will do is, what you'll see is, they'll name themselves after the Kemetic deities. They'll call themselves Tahuti something or Ma'at something. And I'll go, okay. So did you get that name doing a naming ceremony? And they'll be like, no, I just chose that because I felt close to that energy. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You don't choose a name because you felt close to that energy, you have to go through a proper naming ceremony where you work with a priest or priestess who does an oracle reading and looks at your astrological chart and determines what your name should be. And they also look at what clan you're born into. All right. And then that determines your name. You have these guys and girls who are ignorant of the knowledge of our ancient ancestors, just reading history, and they pick out a name and then name themselves that. And some of the people who I found to be the most evil people, unscrupulous people, name themselves Ma'at, and I'm like, oh my God, and I don't understand them, and what happens when you just pick a name, you basically ruin your destiny. And let me explain how this works. The name, really, in ancient cultures, the language was totally different. It had frequencies and a vibration to it. So when it was spoken, there was a vibratory resonance to it. So that would so when somebody spoke your name, the frequency would resonate, and it would give you energy and power to help you fulfill your destiny. All right. So if you just pick a name out of thin air or for some book you read, so when I'm speaking something to you or I'm reciting your name, I'm giving you an energy that you may not need, or worse, that would do you harm in this lifetime, because you haven't gone through the proper process to get your name. So you don't know what energy you're deficient on, that you may need more of, that people who were calling your name could give you more of to fulfill your destiny, since you just went ahead and got yourself a name willy-nilly, and then you want to call yourself conscious or spiritually awake. It doesn't work like that. People are stupid, so stop the nonsense. You can't play with this stuff. This stuff is for real. You have to pay your dues. which is why when I went for a reading for with one of the lovely ladies who is a witch, and I told her that I was interested in working with Ma'at, and she just gave me this one. She was like this, and she looked at me for a second. I was like, "What? What? Is it? What? I got a bug up my nose? What?" She goes, that's a very serious energy. It's a very heavy energy. And I was like, yeah, I know. Ma'at is my clan. So, and she didn't know that at the time. I was like, yes, I was born into Ma'at clan. She goes, oh, okay, okay. I just wanted you to know. So what she was trying to say is that Ma'at is a very heavy energy, meaning it's a very dedicated calling, and one has to be serious to go on this path. And there's too many of us out there who want to be spiritual, who are playing around with spirituality. We're not serious. And listen, hey man, I'm critical of myself because a lot of things I do, I play around. I need to get more serious on certain things. So, the I-Ching says before you're hard on the people out there, you must be hard on your own city. So, meaning city, meaning you. So I'm just as hard on myself before I'm hard on everybody else, And if you guys know what the I-Ching is, get the book. It's wonderful. Get the Wilhelm Baines version of the I-Ching, one of the greatest oracles in the world. And I follow and live by that. Okay. So if you want to get into spirituality, do the darn thing right. In fact, there was this one guy, I don't know who this guy is, man. I'm communicating with him and I'm posting something on this message board, right? And he tells me that I disrespected this woman, right? And I'm like, I don't disrespect women. I hold women in high reverence. I'm like, I said, I come from, my soul is very ancient soul. I come from cultures that gave lots of respect to women. So he goes, I looked at his name and his name is Ma'at, right? And I said, but hey, listen, why do you have a female name? He says, oh, well, listen, brother, let's talk about, like how you're disrespecting. I said, no, 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 no. Why do you have a female name? Because that's the subject at hand. I said the proper way to spell Ma'at, the male spelling of Ma'at is M-A-A, not M-A-A-T. That's female. And I said, did you know that, brother? And the conversation got real quiet at that point because I said, brother, you're by spelling it M-A-A-T, you're giving yourself a female energy, a yin energy. Is that what you're intending to do? So anyway, I don't want to make this a big deal. And I also told him to mind his business because what I was doing was chastising the young lady for, she was incorrect in what she was saying and doing. And I was chastising her as an elder, as someone who's gone through spiritual culture. And I knew what I was talking about. So I told him to mind his business because I am the elder in the situation. So I hate to pull rank, but one has to respect one's elders. In other words, when I'm on a forum and if somebody like Dr. John Henry Clark, who I respect and I learned from, or Dr. Ben Jamakanan, even though I have some issues with him, if he were to talk to me, even though I have real big issues with him, I would still give him respect as my elder. That's how we did it in ancient cultures in Africa, ancient cultures in Greece, ancient cultures and the Roman cultures. That's how, especially in Greek culture, because, there were these Greek philosophers and they always had like their disciples and things like nature and the people they would take in to study with them. And these young guys who would study with these Greek philosophers would study with them for years about philosophy. And you had to pay respects to these philosophers. You know what I mean? So you didn't come out your mouth and just say stuff. If you did, they would you would not be there anymore. You'd be vanished. All right. So this is why Western society has a lot of problems, is because we don't value the wisdom of the older generation. And, and it's really sad to that fact. But anyway, let me go to the subject of Ma'at. Now, Ma'at is the living of truth. Okay, Ma'at is not truth that is written in a book. And we have to understand the difference because it's very, very important. Because remember when I talked about the difference between right brain cultures and left brain cultures, because left brain culture only goes by reference experience, goes by a paradigm or a precedent. It has to have something to reference in order to apply that, and but Ma'at is different. Ma'at is more right brain and Ma'at is synthesis thinking. All right, where left brain is segregated thinking. So let me just go over real quickly so you get a better understanding of Ma'at and what Ma'at, the mental traits of Ma'at thinking, which is synthesis, gaining insight into things by unifying them through the use of abstract analogies, hence well fitted for philosophical and theoretical scientific religious pursuits. Let's go a little bit more into this. Okay, Ma'at, she walks with a papyrus scepter. She achieves abundance. And that's a big thing with Ma'at, abundance. This is why her planet is Jupiter. Now, I like, as I said before, I am born, sorry, I'm just reading the comments, which I will ignore. I'm born in the Ma'at clan, and I have Jupiter energy, which I got to learn to deal with, because Jupiter is very expansive. The Ma'at energy is very expansive. So when I was writing, my editors would be like, "Okay, you just have to write 5 pages," and then I would give them a novel. And it was just, it's something I would continually do, I would just like, I can't stop, like, and it's with other things. Like I would shoot a film, right? I make a movie, and they were like, okay, we only need 60 minutes, and I will come back with 120 minutes. And I wouldn't want to cut it down. I would get upset with the editor, and he would, but that's the Ma'at Jupiterian energy. You're very expansive, hence why people who are born under Ma'at have wealth. But you have to understand the type of wealth that Ma'at governs. It's not wealth where you're hoarding wealth like a Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. It is abundance. And you guys know the definition of abundance, the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. That Bashar told us that, and that is correct. I subscribe to that. That definition is, again, the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it, because it works in terms of balance. It works in terms of Ma'at is also consistency, being consistent, having what you need when you need it. All right. It's not wealth and like, oh, I've got billions of dollars and you have nothing. It's craziness. All right. Ma'at's papyrus scepter fuses divine law with the abundance that follows from living it. Its color is green, symbolizes abundance and fruitfulness, while the papyrus, which was used for writing, symbolizes the book of the law. She realizes that even her enemies, this is important, even her enemies are integral parts of the whole, and thus works and shares with them. Seshat raises her consciousness to the hall of the Metu Netta and realizes the ultimate unity of all things. This is what synthesis thinking does. It looks and says, everything is united, everything is one, everything serves a purpose, even my enemies are one with me. There are no irreconcilable opposites in the world. This is the source of all undaunted optimism. So another quality of Ma'at is optimism, faith, and inner joy, which reveals themselves in a peaceful, genuine smile and relaxed state of inner peace, being, even in the midst of setbacks and the greatest of external difficulties. So a Ma'at person is joyful, optimistic, because they're always looking at the brighter side of things. They're giving, seeking nothing in return. And I talked about a type of Ma'at relationship you could be in. If you're in a Ma'at relationship, it's a very challenging relationship because your partner will not be giving you a lot of affection, but they will truly love you. So keep that in mind, because a lot of people think that love is about affections only, like, in Africa, we would see like when a member of the family would die, they would notice how the father and mother would not cry. And they would not show the typical emotions that we find in the West. That's because they understood that the crying was attention, and the tears were releasing of tension. But the absence of that didn't mean that they didn't love their children. It was they were in the inside, they were control of their emotions. So understand that just because somebody is giving you affection does not necessarily mean that they love you, you know? So that ma'at, cold exterior, um, could very well mean a very deep committed love, you know? So you have to examine your relationship and say, maybe she or he does love me and not just reading things wrong. Okay. So you'll have to go to a diviner or oracle reading to determine what type of relationship you are involved with. And I have something to read to you because I want to talk a little bit about this. Now, to live the path of Ma'at, you must have Tahuti with you. And I spoke about that in an earlier video because Tahuti is Ma'at's mate. And they have to go hand in hand. One is the law and the other one is the measure of the law, or when to apply the law. Tahuti has to tell you when to apply the law. But never forget that in non-Western cultures, the laws were never written in books. It was more so, the laws were never written in books, and also religion was never written in books. It was more of oral traditions that were passed down from lineage to lineage. And when colonizers and missionaries went into these countries, Africa, India, they saw that there were no religious books. Consequently, they did not enter African religions into the world religions. So when you think of world religions, you think of Christianity, you think of Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, but you don't think of any African religion, because one of the reasons that they were able to not include it as a world religion was because there were no sacred text. So they said, okay, so there's no sacred text. So, but the reason why there were no sacred texts, and I will expand on this, was because Africa practiced the right brain way of living. So Ma'at is truth, right? And truth is living. It is not the written word, because written word is left brain thinking. It is having to go for reference experience, is looking at a precedent or a paradigm to reference. But there's so many shades of gray and so many different scenarios and situations that life could bring that you cannot always find a precedent or a written law that could apply to your particular unusual situation. This is why Tahuti comes in, supreme wisdom, to know how to apply Ma'at's law. All right. And I want to read this from you. And this deals with how the colonizers went in and how they looked at African religion, which only had an oral tradition of religion. And it says here, it is interesting to note that many African churches that are emerging on the continent in contemporary times do not claim scriptures as the central element of their religious system, nor do they see possession of a sacred book as the authenticity of their faith. But they do see their faith as revealed. They place greater, this is the key now, they place greater emphasis on revelation by means of dreams, by ecstasy or trance, or possession, by prophets and divination, oracles again, or through reincarnation or events such as calamities than they do on scripture. They also stress the manner of religious living. From them, revelation, a continuing and ever-present aspect of religious living. For them, revelation, sorry, let me say that again. For them, revelation is a continuing and ever-present aspect of religious living. In that sense, their religion is much more morally, ethically based than doctrinally based. So we're talking about focused on morals as the chief guide and living of those morals, and not on doctrine. You see the difference? And again, going back to the right and left brain cultures, a stark difference. And I'm going to tell you how this difference was recorded in history. I've already read to you in previous videos the eyewitness account of the historian Herodotus, when he went into ancient Egypt and he saw the children running around naked, unattended to. There was no pedophiles, there was no police. And he commented on this in his books, the histories. and you can get those. And he was amazed at how these children could be unattended, running freely naked, and there was no crime, there was no kidnapping of children, and he just couldn't believe this. But now let me turn to something that is just important, and this is comes from Lord Macaulay, and he was uh, an imperialist, a colonizer. And this is regarding a speech he made, I believe it was in 1834, to the British Parliament. And there's some controversy over the speech of did it happen, didn't it happen? But I think it holds some weight. You can decide if you believe it, but there's a lot of discourse on the web where people are saying, no, it's not legitimate. Yes, it's legitimate. And these are supposedly Lord Macaulay's words. I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief, such wealth I have not seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation. That's 1835, February 2nd, 1835, his speech to the British Parliament. So there you go. So what we're saying is, you look at this in contrast to modern day society, where we have the police force and that has to go up and down the street, that monitored everything. In ancient times, individuals lived according to Ma'at. You didn't need police. You didn't need to have, SWAT, or however they call them out there, taking away your civil liberties and freedom. You didn't need all of that, because it didn't matter if there was a blackout. People wouldn't be ransacking the stores and stealing stuff, because in ancient cultures we lived a very high moral life. We would not do that. But here, if something happened, we revert to the level of savages, because people are not practicing spirituality. The only reason that we haven't reverted to savages is because there's these man-made laws in place keeping everybody in check. But if the police force were to suddenly disappear and those laws were to disappear, watch how people would suddenly degenerate and just become like the zombie apocalypse. That's what it would be. So there's a difference between having written laws and the laws being within you. And this comes from what we know that changes behavior. It is not sermons every Sunday in a church, but it is the right brain, the subconscious mind, the meditative state going into trance to change behavior. This is why not all non-Westerners or Western cultures relied heavily upon meditation and trance. That's the one thing they all have in common, is the practicing of meditation and trance state to change behavior. I get so sick of seeing these Muslims open up the Quran and start quoting crap from the Quran as if that's supposed to tame their behavior or change their behavior. It doesn't do that. The reason why they recite certain scriptures hundreds of times is to transfer it from the left brain to the right brain so that it can take into the subconscious mind. But they don't realize that's why they have to recite it that many times, and that's a good thing to do. The other thing to do is to damn well get into a trance state or go into meditation and visualize yourself doing the correct behavior. That's the Ma'at path. That's the living of truth, is to use the right brain for what it's supposed to do. But because you have the Illuminati who set out these colonizers to go and take over third world countries and destroy ancient culture, which would have civilized us, because we've had this happen, and put in place books that we learn from that keep us in a very arrested development state. we find ourselves now, our progress is retarded. We're not using the right brain, which is the higher levels of consciousness. And we're relying solely on an educational system that rewards regurgitation of information, but not true learning, because that comes from Tahuti. So if we want to be a society that lives by Ma'at, then we have to turn back the clock and start looking at what our ancestors were doing and start living as they were. You know, in ancient cultures, when a child was born, there were astrological readings that were done to determine what clan that child will be in. And then when they were starting to grow up, they would get into an initiation process where, you know, the little boys would be initiated and become men, and little girls would become women, and they would hang with the women, and the women would teach them how to be women, and the men would teach the little boys how to be men. And then from there, you would go into a clan, and like, for example, a Ma'at clan or a Set clan, and you would work and learn about that individual god or goddess, you know, and then from there you would be given certain responsibilities and things of that nature. And then from there, you would help to build the nation, and the nation then would build and come into an empire, you know. So there was all these responsibilities. And if you aspired to be king or queen, you had to first develop a family, a large family, and show that you could manage that family properly. Because in ancient traditions, how you managed a family was a microcosm of the macrocosm of being king of a nation. Because if you could not manage the family properly, then that was a demonstration that you didn't have the prerequisites to be a king or an emperor, you know? So you go back and study history, and you'll see this, you know? And you know what, and you have to take some of this stuff with a grain of salt, because they've mutilated history. They've taken out all of the ancient occult things out of history. Like, for example, if you look at history, the most powerful people in history was not the emperor, you know. Go back to the Greek and Roman history. The powerful people weren't the emperor. It was the priests and priestesses. Because you got out of line and you pissed them off, you were done, because they were powerful in terms of understanding black magic, juju. They trained for years, and they were reincarnated and through various different lifetimes to master magic. You know, they tell you that that the king was the most powerful, and his word was this. No. The priest was powerful, not the pharaoh. No. In fact, if you read about ancient Egyptian pharaohs, some of them just disappeared, and you know that was at the hand of the priests and priestesses. Okay, so but again, the history, the way we look at it, is tainted and is corrupted by the ruling elite, because they don't want you to know that what rules this planet is magic. It's not military might, it's magic. Because the way they've got the world, the planet imprisoned, is through magic, is through subliminal seduction. It's not through military might. Because their ultimate goal, which they will achieve, is to get you to enslave yourself, to use your mind against you, so that you will fight for your own enslavement. And we're doing it now. We're doing it now. We're almost there. I would say we're 60%, we're probably like, no, 65% almost there with the, you know. So we ain't got far to go, because we're already fighting for our enslavement. The mere fact that people in the conspiracy theory arena talk about this stuff about, oh, they're trying to dumb down the population. The population is already dumbed down. What do you mean they're trying? They've done it. They're successful. And then they're like, oh, well, we're headed toward a new world. No, we're in the new world order. We're not headed toward it. We've been in the new world order. How do you think slavery could have happened? That was a part of the new world order. When you wipe out a continent and wipe out all third world countries, what do you think, you know, happened to the Native Americans? That was a genocide. That was part of the new world order. Stop acting like we ain't in it already. We are. Are you an idiot? Are you a freak? It's like these conspiracy theory nuts have a fucking amnesia. Sorry. They have cognitive dissonance. They only see things when it relates to their people or when it relates to America. But if the rest of the world who's gone through hell doesn't matter. Forget what Columbus did to the Native Americans. Oh, forget that. No, that's not a Holocaust. That's not nothing. Ooh, the New World Order is coming. No, it didn't happen for the Native Americans. Are you stupid? Use your fucking whole brain. Oh my God. So anyway, sorry about that. I didn't mean to get emotional. Sorry, Maat. Anyway, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Hey, look, guys, I've got videos that have like 13,000 views and 1 million views. But you guys aren't subscribing to the channel. What's up with that? So just subscribe, man. I can't have like 1 million views and or 13,000 views and not have at least half as many subs. So subscribe to the channel, pass it on to friends and family members, get the revolution started. This is Kasank Ma Keparu. Until my next broadcast, that's all for now.